I gave my brother everything. Then he framed me for Dad's death. Our father owned a small trucking company. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. One night our father got a phone call and immediately told us, "Get in the car, we're going to the hospital." One day, he took a long break from helping out around the house. He went out drinking with his friends and didn't come home all night. "Did you become friends?" I said, "Pretty much." "He's helping me at the company." She was so excited and gave him a big hug. He had a huge grin on his face. He said, "Looks like you're finally going to jail." The cop said I poisoned Dad and added that he found a suicide note where I confessed. I stood up and said, "Your Honor, I may not have much time left. I slept on a thin mat. I couldn't believe Zion had betrayed me like that. I gave up my whole life for him, but he still tried to destroy mine." I told them Zion killed our father for money. He wanted to take over the company. When they asked me how I felt about this, I said, "I feel bad for him. If he didn't betray me, Dad wouldn't have died, and he would still be alive today." One day, a new inmate came to my cell. It was hard to keep it running, but I knew Dad would be proud of me. He said, "No, no, no. Please don't take me away." "Don't take me away." I just stared at him as he was led away. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. He already knew what I had done. I had sent the cops a letter explaining everything. Zion wanted to take my place. Fine, let him rot in jail. A few months later, the company was doing better than ever. I was looking over some paperwork when I heard a voice behind me. It was Zion. He said, "Wow, you actually managed to ruin the company." I turned around and said, "It's doing great, Zion." He said, "Lucky you. You know, the only person that cares about this company is me." I looked him up and down and said, "So I hear you like being in charge, Zion." He said, "Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you always were the golden boy." "I hate you." Everybody gasped when they saw what happened that night. I told him I would see him in court. Then I went to the bathroom. I closed the door and locked it. He introduced himself as Carlos. I told him about my situation. He said, "Sounds like someone set you up." I said, "Yeah, my own brother." Carlos said, "Well, you might have a chance." He explained that there was a hidden camera in our dad's study. He recorded everything. He continued, "Your brother probably thought that was destroyed, but I'm willing to bet it's still here." Carlos worked with the police to get the footage, and they played it in court. Everybody gasped when they saw what happened that night. But before I go, I want to tell you who really killed my dad. Everyone gasped and turned to look at Zion. He was smirking, probably thinking I was confessing to him. That's when I pointed to him and said, "That man right there poisoned Dad." I heard him bragging about it. The judge slammed his gavel and said, "Order in the court." He told the officers to arrest Zion. Then he said, "As for you, Mr. Armin, I am afraid you have no other choice but to stay in this cell for the rest of your life." I felt devastated. How could this be happening? Zion started screaming, but the cops took him away. I watched them go and quietly cried to myself. He also found CCTV footage of me buying the same powder that was in the dessert at the supermarket. I begged my mom not to believe me, but she was crying too hard to speak. The door opened and Carlos walked in. He said, "It's over. You won, Armin." Moments later, the same lawyer who defended me in court walked in. He said, "Armin, I have good news. You're free to go." I was stunned. I asked, "But what about Zion?" The lawyer said, "He's locked up and will be for a very long time. Your brother confessed to everything. He also implicated himself in the frame-up. And by the way, that CCTV footage of you buying the powder was doctored. He replaced the date with the night Dad died." I couldn't believe how stupid my brother was. He made it seem like I bought the poison on the day Dad died, but he messed up and changed the date on the footage. I kept insisting I was innocent, but nobody believed me. I mean, the evidence was pretty damning. They took me to court. I could tell it meant a lot to him. He stayed with us for another 3 months until he became really close with Mom. One morning, I came downstairs and saw him holding a glass jar. Inside was a white powder. I asked, "What is that?" He said, "A secret ingredient for Dad's favorite dessert." I remember Dad telling me how to make that dessert years ago, but I had no idea Zion had been listening. I mean, who listens to conversations they're not part of? It was weird. Mom called him at 6 to ask where he was. It was a text message from Zion. He said, "Did you poison Dad?" I was shocked. I responded, "What the hell was wrong with you? Why would I do that?" He walked into the room with our mom and Dad's lawyer. He whispered, "You're done, Armin. Looks like you're going to jail for life." I had never felt so helpless. As I was escorted into the courtroom, I saw a crowd of reporters waiting outside. All of them knew me and shouted questions. That's when my brother smiled. He was enjoying this. This was all you wanted. He said, "Because you wanted the company. Now it's all yours, huh? You even took away the last thing I had left, my girlfriend." I was angry, but I knew he was having some sort of breakdown, so I tried to reason with him. I said, "Why would I poison Dad? I loved him. He was my hero." Zion said, "Right, sure you did. Tell that to the judge. He won't buy it." I was confused and scared, but I had to go to work. He said, "I'm not coming home, Mom. I found a girl and I'm gonna live with her." I could tell Mom felt let down. She asked if he was serious. He said, "Yep, seriously, you won't see me again." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Zion, how could you say that? You don't even know what it's like to be an adult yet." He said, "Well, I guess I'll never know. Thanks to you, big bro. You always were the golden child, weren't you? Perfect Armin." And with that, he hung up on Mom. I felt bad for Mom, but she would always say, "Don't worry about your brother. Armin, I know he doesn't understand now, but one day he'll grow up." When we arrived, he was already gone. They said he died of a heart attack. I was 24 and my little brother Zion was only 19. Our mom cried for days. She still misses him so much. My brother quit school to help with the business. At first I thought it was just to comfort Mom, but then he started spending more and more time there. 2 weeks later, Zion came back. He looked defeated. He explained to Mom that his girlfriend's parents didn't approve of him. I knew he was lying, but I also knew why he came back. It was all about the money. Mom threw him some money and told him to go buy groceries. I knew he was trying to guilt trip her into giving him money, but I felt bad for him, so I stepped in and said, "Hey, bro, I'll go with you." We got into the car and I asked him why he came back. He said, "Mom and Dad always compare me to you. I can't win. I just want to make them proud, but I don't know how." I understood exactly what he was going through because I used to feel the same way when I was younger, so I made him a deal. I said, "If you help me out at the company, I'll teach you everything I know and you can eventually take over the family business." He smiled and said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, but you have to promise me you'll try." He agreed and we went shopping. When we arrived home, Mom asked, "Armin, you two look very happy." One day while I was at work, my phone vibrated. Later that day, the police showed up at my workplace and handcuffed me in front of my boss and coworkers. I was taken downtown where Zion waited. I sat in a small room where the trial would take place. It was cold and dark, and suddenly I heard a familiar voice. It was Zion. In court, the judge asked if I had anything to say. They put me in a tiny cell without a window. The next day, I woke up to the sound of birds chirping. I was back in the small room from before. Once I was back at home, I saw a reporter and I stopped to talk. The following week, I returned to the company. I made a few changes and brought in new employees. When I came out, I heard sirens. I walked back to my office and saw Zion sitting on the floor with handcuffs on, and that's where the story ends. Thank you for watching.